This is the first module on macroeconomics for social impact. Now, why are we discussing macroeconomics as an enabler? Macroeconomics forms the backbone of our economy and is a significant enabler for understanding the underpinnings of social impact. The global development sector is prone to economic cycles, and development economics is a major pillar in forming policies and interventions for elevating poverty, driving equitable education, sustainability, and much more. So this macroeconomic series will share an overview on the following topics. Now to gain more on evidence-based approach, do refer to the tutorials under statistics and impact evaluation. Now that's a very important topic in statistics and impact evaluation. And I suggest everybody you should read, we should go through that particular series. Now when we are talking about clarity on impact of macroeconomics, this particular module, you'll understand the demand and supply equilibrium. That is actually the first module. In the whole series, you'll understand behavior economy over long run and short run. This is very important. And there are a lot of modules in this particular space. Now you'll have a better understanding of fiscal policy influences. You'll have a better understanding of monetary policy and monetary stabilization policies. Now that's very interesting that you should be having. That's very important when you understand the whole global arena. That gives you a better idea about the social impact which is going within the global arena. One of the most important aspects is inflation. So we'll understand social costs of inflation as we go forward. We'll understand a lot about development economics. We look at evidence-based framework at macro level, which I talked about. For that, of course, statistics and impact evaluation, a special series which I've started. You need to learn. The whole idea is like you need to learn how macroeconomics affects social good. So this series puts you on the forefront to give you a very good understanding of what's going on in the economy on a whole. Now, I talked about when you're looking at clarity of macroeconomics, the concept of demand and supply, both in the short run and long run, is very important. Interest rates and inflation, modern monetary and fiscal policies and their impact. Now, this is an introduction to stabilization policies. Now, this is going to be a mega series under this, but not only under this particular series, there's going to be a separate series on that particular topic. Now, when you're looking at books for reference, there are two very important books: Macroeconomics by Greg Mankiw, which is the major book, and the other major book is Macroeconomics Policy and Practice by Mishkin. Now, you could have these books or you could refer to any other book, but it's always good to have a textbook with you. When we are looking at macroeconomics as an enabler, just put in some of the specific aspects. Now, GDP, which is real versus nominal, we have a topic which is going to be coming out next, is very important. Now, what's very good, very interesting part is well-being. I suggest, although I've not covered New Zealand, New Zealand has a variable of well-being within the GDP. GDP means the total income or expenditure which is created within an economy through goods and services. Now, there'll be a special module on that, and we'll come to that at a later date when the next module. Money market, which I've actually covered, is more about interest rates. This comes under stabilization. There'll be a lot of modules in that. That's a mega module. We'll be looking at open market operations, quantitative easing. It's very interesting. And the third, the labor markets and employment rate would also come in at a later date. But when we start understanding about economics, we need to understand models. So models are as good as assumptions. They're both they are not laws of physics. They are as good as what you're going to be putting in as the exogenous variables, the variables that come from outside the model, which you're putting into a model, and the model is trying to explain, which is the variables that the model explains are endogenous variables. To give you a brief idea of what exogenous are and what you mean by endogenous variables. Example, let's look at the unemployment rate. Here I've put business confidence index. There are a lot of factors which are affecting unemployment rate. We're keeping that constant. Now we're looking at business confidence index and putting a model to understand how it will be impacting unemployment rate. So which is endogenous. Business confidence index will be exogenous variable. A graph of the business confidence index of OECD, advanced countries, this collection of advanced countries. Now, if we see how the graph, the business confidence index has gone from positive, it's gone down. So it's hovering between a range. Whenever you're looking at when it goes down, those are the years which we closely see are the years of recession. One is, of course, from 2008 and 2009. During that point of time was great credit crisis and the pandemic. So during that period of time, you see so there are expansion times and the recession times. So during the time of recessions, the unemployment rate is high, much higher as compared to the times when the economy is doing better. Here, this is just to give you a brief description. Now you have seen how the business confidence index is, and you clearly know during period of time how the unemployment rate was. From here, what we then understand is that when the business confidence index and economic business cycles are related to each other, so during the time of expansion, the business confidence index is positive or high as the demand for goods and services is more, so the unemployment rate is less. On the other hand, during the recession, the business confidence index dips. Usually there are layoffs and the unemployment rate increases. These are the times of recession, and I've seen the arrows when there is a positive times of the economy. At the airline model, in the airline industry model, you have exogenous variables and endogenous variables. Here the exogenous variables are safety, the safety of the passengers, and the cost of jet fuel. So these are the inputs when you're looking at the model, and the output of the model, we are looking at the price of an airline ticket or quantity of tickets sold. So we are keeping other variables constant in both these cases, and this is what the model is going to explain. Now this model we are going to look in depth. Whenever you remember, when you're looking at cost of jet fuel, anything which is cost which goes to the input, or the cost of ultimately the cost of goods or services, would always be the supply curve. So this is something very important. As we go forward, we're going to look at this again. Here we come to to understand the demand and supply airline model. One of the reasons why this model has been selected is that you have these two, which are exogenous, is safety and cost of fuel, which I've talked about. Price of an airline ticket is one endogenous variable. This other is number of tickets sold. So we are looking at two of endogenous variables, and we are taking two inputs, so two inputs and two outputs, and we are understanding the impact of safety of passengers and cost of fuel on price and quantity of airline ticket. Here we are trying, in the airline industry model, we are trying to understand the effect of change in perception of safety of passengers and cost of jet fuel on the price of an airline ticket and number of airline tickets sold. Now we look at this model of demand and supply using the airline industry example. When you're looking at demand and supply equilibrium at QD is equal to QS, the price of the airline ticket adjusts so that the quantity supplied is equal to the quantity demanded. The demand curve is downward sloping, and as the price, which means like as the price of the airline ticket reduces, the number of airline tickets demanded increases. The demand curve is nothing but the relationship between price of the airline ticket and the number of airline tickets demanded, keeping safety of travelers or passengers constant. Now, when you look at the supply curve, it's upward sloping. The price of the airline ticket increases, the number of airline tickets supplied increases. The supply curve is the relationship between the price of the airline ticket and the number of airline tickets supplied, keeping the cost of fuel constant. Cost of fuel, whenever you're looking at, is the affects the supply curve, and when you're looking at demand curve, we have looked at the safety of the passengers. We look at the concept of market clearing. The price of goods and services are very different in the long run and short run. The prices of goods and services in the market, they quickly interact to demand and supply. The idea here is that it does not happen. The prices and wages do not, they are pretty slow to react. Now you could look at example of automobile cars and in the labor market during the recession. They do not quickly adjust. The price of the cars do not fall during the time of the recession. That's what we say. The prices are sticky in the short run. But out here, the example is we are taking the example because of to give you the example of retailers of global crude oil. Now, retailers of global crude oil also follow sticky pricing model. That is, if the market, if the prices of crude oil they really go up, they would not pass it on directly to the customers. It takes time. Now, this might be true, but to a certain extent, This was true during the time of the pandemic, but still, the prices were did go back to the customers. This is just to give you an idea. You have to see that the commodity price like oil, soybeans, they are actually traded on exchanges which are real time, so they very quickly adjust to demand and supply. Now that's a separate subject. You could look at futures and options. This is also a topic which will eventually start on the middle road. I've talked a bit about options, but there would be something coming up, but you could go out and read a bit about it, but that's a separate topic altogether. Here we are looking at the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on prices of petroleum. I've given PPI and MPI just to give you how the prices of domestic produce of goods and service fade versus those of foreign goods and services. Now, let's take the example. There are two very critical examples which you need to take. Now, in 2016, China became the largest importer of oil. Now, when you're looking at the prices of global crude oil prices, you have to consider China. A demand cut from China would hugely impact the prices. So now look at in Feb, China's purchasing managers index fell down 49%, reaching its lowest level. Now this is the lowest level since it began in 2005. Now this was the largest demand side shock to the market since 2000, 2008, 2009 global recession. So it had a huge impact. Then there was also a war going, price war, which I would talk about, a price war which was going between OPEC and Russia in order to cut down the supply, and Russia actually did not want to cut down the supply, led to huge oversupply of crude oil. So in 1st May 2020, US had nearly 535.2 billion barrels of crude oil, crude petroleum stockpile. So this is very interesting. Now, if you look at, there's so much of oversupply of oil, of course, the oil prices would collapse or come down. In the next two graphs, we look at what happened to the prices. This gives you a fair bit of idea. I talked about PPI and MPI, and you can see they sort of moved, together. At least there's a positive correlation. When you look at the jet fuel and other derivatives of crude oil, this gives you a fair bit of idea how the prices have moved. We look at the demand supply equilibrium now. We look at the demand side of the curve. Look, the restrictions imposed due to COVID-19, due to supply, due to safety concerns, example lockdowns, restricted travel, led to a fall in the demand for airline travel, keeping other factors constant. We have seen that in the demand side shock when demand for crude oil, global crude oil industry was affected. Demand curve moves left, leading to a new equilibrium point Q1. Now earlier it was A, now the new equilibrium point is B. Now we see that the quantity of tickets that leads to a new price point. So the price of the airline ticket now goes down to D1, and the quantity of tickets reduces to Q1. The price of airline ticket reduces, as well as the quantity, the equilibrium quantity, which is the quantity of tickets sold, would be Q1. Now, when we are looking at QD, what I'm trying to say is that when you're talking about the demand side shock, the safety of the passenger, that affects the demand curve. Whenever you're talking about fuel, any cost of anything which is going affecting the cost of goods and services, that's going to be in the supply side. So, what happened during the supply? Now, a drop in the fuel cost because of oversupply of crude oil now increases the supply of airline ticket at all price points. So we see the supply curve now moves towards the right. As we go towards the right, it moves from point A equilibrium to point B equilibrium. At that point B equilibrium, now the price of the airline ticket has reduced to P1, but the quantity of tickets sold increased to Q1. Now we're talking about any when you're talking about anything which is more of a price shock, or we are looking at fuel cost, it will always be affecting the supply curve. So you have to be very sure. Any increase or decrease, a sudden increase or decrease of cost of goods, especially when you're looking at crude prices, will always affect the supply curve, not the demand curve. So this has to be very crystal clear when we are understanding the demand and supply equilibrium. Very good is that you do an exercise to find out, did the price of the airline ticket over a period of time, when prices of oil fell, and if there was actually at that point of travel was going on within an economy, Not be true depending on how the pandemic faced in your particular country. It's great if you conduct a research project to understand if the price of the airline tickets were the same, increased or decreased. You need to think what might be the reason if there is a difference. GDP, gross domestic product. Now there are 4 quarters in a year. This is going to be in detail talked in the next tutorial. GDP measures the total income of everyone within an economy, or it could be the expenditure of output of goods and services. Now, I suggest that you take the quiz